Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Parlay Revival. So we have made it to Raja Ampat in Indonesia, which is one of the diving meccas of the world right here. And we are on a mission to get to Wayag Island before we have to say goodbye to one of our patrons on board. But little does he or the two new girls know that they are going to have to go through an equatorial baptism before being allowed to cross over to the northern hemisphere of our planet. So there was some planning going on behind the scenes as we picked up the anchor and slowly started to make our way towards the equator.
We're going to head towards a place called Wayag, which is meant to be one of the highlights in Raja Ampat. But to get there, we're going to go through this really cool pass.
Just can't wait to get on the road again. Yeah, I'm stoked. What's the next place called?
Wayag.
Wayag. Yeah, Wayag is like the picture-perfect, quintessential Raja Ampat apparently. So I'm stoked to go see it.
For your last few weeks with us.
We're not gonna, I don't say goodbyes.
See you guys later. You. Catch you legends. So that was a YouTube channel called Expedition Drenched. We hung out with them last night. They've got 24 people on 2 steel boats. There's a fishing boat here. It's a fishing boat in the middle, but they've just built these massive outriggers on it, and there's some nets on, so they must catch squid or fish or something and throw them into their trimaran, homemade trimaran. Yeah, so they Expedition Drenched, they've got 24 crew on there, and one of the cabins there's 12 beds, so I can't imagine what sleeping down there is like in this heat. No aircon. It's bad enough with 2 people in a cabin, imagine 12.
Joanna, first time sailing on a catamaran?
First time, yeah. Love it.
Indonesia?
First time in Indonesia. Such a beautiful place.
Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. We'll introduce you to the new girls in a minute. But right now we have to go through this narrow pass before being able to head north. As you've noticed in previous episodes, the charts are so bad around here, so we also have to use satellite images to see where the shallow parts are. I also had to make sure that we were doing this on a slack tide, because at mid-tide the current can be flowing up to 5 knots. I chose to do this at high tide, as I heard that it comes down to about 6 feet in depth at the very end at low tide.
Look all up in there. So nice. Where are we? We're just in amongst all these crazy little islands.
The little mushroom-shaped islands everywhere were so cool, and we couldn't help but explore around a few. The channel was a mile long, and as we started to head down it, we soon realized that the current was going with us at around 2 knots. This didn't surprise me too much, because the tide charts are never really accurate around these remote areas, with lots of complex archipelagos affecting the currents. But the current would only get worse the longer we waited. If I had to choose between a 2-knot current against or with us, I'd choose against every time, as it gives you more maneuverability with the water flowing faster over the rudders. Here, I was a little at the whim of the water flow, so I had to give it increased RPM to get rudder control, which meant we were flying along at over 6 knots. This is not ideal if you happen to run aground, as the current will push you right up onto the reef, with the added fact that the tide is also now dropping. Jamie and I were on high alert, making sure we avoided the shallow areas on Google Earth. Then at the end, the current was going with us but the wind against us, which made for a really choppy sea state as we came out into the bay. But we made it through safely, and as we continued north, the crew got to have one of those experiences that will be with them for a lifetime.
We're just motoring to the next spot, and we see these 2 big fins come out of the water, and it looked like a manta ray, so the crew have just jumped in, and the manta ray just swimming all around them right now. It looks so good. What an experience.
Sure enough, a whole squadron of manta rays were totally unfazed by the crew, and actually kept coming back and circling them. It was one of those moments where you actually have to pinch yourself to see if this is real life.
That was crazy.
What happened?
They were just really amped up and playful and moving fast, and they would come in hot and swoop around us. They kind of let me chase them with the camera. They'd kind of zip around. I've seen that the last time I saw them, they were really kind of calm and just kind of, but here they're having a party down there.
It was hard to count because it was so many moving so quickly, and then they were right underneath us, all coming up in a row. So I started counting. It was at least 8.
And they were getting closer, I swear to God, every single time. It was like 2 feet underneath of me. There was like 6 of them. And it's like, I was like, ah!
They did get pretty good.
So startled. I was like, whoa!
Pretty big shark came to investigate.
Oh, yeah?
He seemed a little
too curious with us.
I didn't see the
Kept my
shark.
eye.
Reef shark.
No, I don't know what he was. I have to go
At
look it up,
least
but it
2
wasn't a
meters.
reefie.
I only saw gray, and I only saw him
And he was
swimming
pretty
away.
big.
Big one,
Yeah.
wow.
I'm definitely going to be looking it up.
Really happy
So,
I
because I
didn't
saw
see
him
that
come
shark.
by, and I think he was investigating all the action because the mantas were freaking out. I saw him come by, and then I saw him swim away, but I kept my eye on him, and they did that thing where he looped back several times and come take another look, and come take another look.
Did you get on camera?
I've got it. He was ways away. I don't know how well it'll come out, but it was my only weapon, so I kept it between me and him.
No, it was insane. I wasn't sure, I don't know, like how big they were gonna be, but they're so much bigger when you're right next to them. That was wild.
We had planned to come to a little island overnight that I had seen on Google Earth that looked like a little slice of paradise called Taman Wolfo. I had heard that you could tie stern to the beach here, so that's exactly what we did.
So nice. It's a super steep, sandy bank here. So we've dropped the anchor in about 100 feet of water, but backed right up to the beach here. And this is home for the night. Gotta pinch myself again. This is absolutely unreal.
This is so beautiful. So many shades of blue. Hi everybody, I'm Savannah. I am coming from Lake Tahoe, California, and I'm originally a mountain girl. I started working on super yachts in 2019. I did that for a short time and realized that it just kind of wasn't my cup of tea, no shade. But I kind of started a 5-year plan 5 years ago, and being a part of the crew on Parlay is closing the circle on that 5-year plan. So I'm really looking forward to start dreaming again and take this opportunity in paradise to see what the next 5-10 years looks like.
Hi guys, I'm Colin. I'm 40 years old. I'm from Germany. I've been sailing for some 10 years now. Got a little more into it during COVID, did my licenses, started to work as a skipper, mostly around the Mediterranean. So I have been on a couple of boats. I've been to very beautiful places such as the Caribbean, the Seychelles. So I'm really excited to get to know all the hidden places in Indonesia on our way to the Philippines.
Here we go!
So the girls jumped in to do some snorkeling, while Ryan and I did some freediving practice down the anchor chain. The anchor itself was in 100 foot of water, and we were managing to get down to around 80 feet with the help of the anchor chain, of course. I had let out 250 feet of chain, but I wasn't quite able to get all the way to the anchor. It was a little bit too far for me. But the key to spending time down here is to stay calm and keep your heart rate as low as possible. You don't see us kicking or moving our arms frantically. It's just all slow, smooth motions, preserving the oxygen levels as much as you can. If you're able to get yourself into a meditative state, you'll notice your bottom times going up and up every time you train. Meanwhile, the girls had found some turtles to play with, which is always pretty amazing.
What's so special about today?
We've got 3 crew that have never crossed the equator before. It's a pretty big deal. We're going from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. If you haven't heard of it before, there's a thing called the line crossing ceremony, and that's when you pay tribute to King Neptune, the god of the ocean, and you become a shellback from a pollywog. So right now we've got 3 pollywogs. By the end of today we're going to have 6 shellbacks on this boat. It's almost like a pretty brutal hazing ceremony, but everyone's got to go through it. So we've been collecting our food scraps for the last few days, and it's looking pretty foul, but you got to do what you got to do. The other thing they got to do is swim across the equator, which is super cool to do anyway.
Like when we did it, it was like we crossed the equator and it was like 20 knots of wind and 2 meter swell. It was pretty dodgy to be jumping in to swim over, but we ended up doing it. So hopefully it's a bit calmer for them today.
The slot bucket is so foul this year that it has to live in the dinghy. I'm glad I don't have to go through this one again.
These are the newbies and it has to happen. Good luck to them.
Well, Jamie tells me that you're gonna cover me in rancid food and then force me to swim. But it's a hazing worthwhile. We get to cross the border for the first time. So yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
And I've done it on land, I've done it with a plane, but I think it will be different on a boat. Let's see.
Like any crossing ceremony, we need a good Neptune, and a good Neptune needs a good crown and a good trident. Sad, are you stoked to cross the equator today?
I had nightmares about the shit that's gonna get thrown all over me today. I'm really, really excited. And also the shark that we saw yesterday, I was thinking about this and I was like, if we're covered in food and we jump into the water, like, is that gonna bait the shark?
Yes. So swim fast.
My mom's not gonna like that.
You can become an arts and craft influencer.
That's the crown so far. It looks good. That's the best one we've had yet.
Oh, we're getting close here.
Good.
Oh, what happened to my... There we go. There she is in all of her glory.
So this tradition is literally centuries old and became standard practice in the 18th century when the British Navy would perform this line crossing ceremony. They were a lot more brutal back then, with several reports of crew actually dying during the event, so we can all consider ourselves lucky that some rotten eggs is all we have to deal with today. It's a cool feeling watching the latitude drop down towards zero in the southern hemisphere before rising in the north. 1 degree of latitude is equivalent to 60 nautical miles, and there are 60 minutes in 1 degree, therefore 1 minute is 1 nautical mile. Along the latitude scale, that is. We were fast approaching the equator, so we proceeded to drop all our sails in preparation for our court hearing of King Neptune.
Is it going great?
He got like sesame seeds, is it?
Oh my god, yes. Get the eyebrows too. It's sticking so good.
But we can't have King Neptune looking like a 39-year-old. His appearance has to reflect his infinite wisdom and judiciousness.
Oh, it stinks.
You are about to partake in a line crossing ceremony. I am King Neptune. These are my Shellbacks behind me. So we have some accusations that you were going to be judged on. Ryan, you have been accused of neglecting the dogs while we have been away. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Savannah, you've been accused of working on super yachts, which are the most carbon monoxide producing, stink boat, shit producing boats in the world. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Carolyn, you have been accused of partaking in anchoring stern to the beach, right in the middle of a dive site, where the locals came and had to dive under your vessel. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Okay. All right. The first activity of this proceeding is to make a sacrifice of some beautiful spiced rum to King Neptune.
This one's for the homies. Whew.
Go on.
I feel like I need to hop on the internet and Google this part. It feels like a stitch up.
I can't believe you did it.
Oh.
Good one. That looks like a
And then
Ready?
Bob's cup.
Okay.
No,
May
give him a little
wash
more.
your sins away. Oh, there's an eggshell in that one.
Oh god, mouth open or closed?
Close. Oh. Jump in.
Oh, I can still smell it.
Jump in. Oh, it actually stinks. Those eggshells were the worst part of it. They did it. They just swam across the equator, from the southern hemisphere to the north. Not many people in the world get to do that. You got this?
That was
Congratulations.
so beautiful.
You are now a shellback. Congratulations, you are now a shellback. Big dog, King Neptune said you could not. You're now a shellback.
Disgusting. It's so gross. I don't know. I jumped in the water pretty fast. I couldn't smell it.
That'll change watermelon for me for the rest of my life. That smell? Holy shit.
Big milestone.
First time?
That was my very first time. Well, you said you only have to do it once, is what you told me. So, therefore, definitely first time. I wish I would be here in a few weeks when you do it again with new crew. I would like to be a hazer, not a hazy. But it was cool. It was fun.
1, 2, 3, Shellbacks!
Shellbacks!
Woo! We survived.
Welcome to the club.
Woo! Go team.
Top the day off would be to catch a fish. That would be unreal.
So we sailed north from the equator for another 2 hours to finally arrive at Wayag Island, and it definitely lived up to its expectations.
This has got to be one of the prettiest places I've ever seen. And I've said that many times before. Stunning. There's just so many islands. But there's just so much to explore.
So beautiful. All the way coming in, beautiful.
This place was honestly like something straight out of a Jurassic Park movie. We were so remote and surrounded by countless hills of untouched beauty. It was impressive, even from down at sea level, but Ryan and the girls wanted to see what this place looked like from above. So they took the dinghy in search of a hiking track to the tallest point on the island. When they got to the top, they were treated with one of the most beautiful views they'd ever seen. Even beneath the surface, the sea was teeming with wildlife, which is home to one of the richest marine biodiversity on the planet. That's why people travel far and wide to get out here, and here we are doing it right off the back of our floating home. It's moments like this that reassure me that we are living our best lives, and there is absolutely no place I'd rather be than right here, which is a pretty special feeling. We had a lot of fun in Voyage, and we were going to return again with the new crew, but for now, we had to head back towards Sorong to drop Ryan off at the airport and pick up the new crew. But we stopped in a place called Gam on our way back, and as usual I pushed Parlay to her limits, exploring areas of the archipelago that I'm fairly confident not many boats this size would venture. We saw what looked like a tunnel going into a lagoon, so I dropped the anchor, but without enough room to swing, we tied her stern off to a tree on the edge of the channel. From the drone we could clearly see that there was water on the other side, so we all hopped into the dinghy and inched our way into the super tight cave. Sure enough, there was a beautiful lagoon on the other side, but we couldn't stay long because if the tide came up too much, we could be stuck inside there until the next low tide.
This is really nasty. I don't want to touch it.
Should I shut it off so we get the sound?
I think we should come in, yeah.
The girls also found a cave that was completely full of bats.
Stinks, they're big. Guano.
This is crazy! It's all fun and games until somebody gets shit on.
Try not to hit these logs on the very first time I've driven the boat, and there's logs everywhere. Today I'm captain for the day. It's my last day. I leave bright and early tomorrow morning. So Colin said he'd give me a chance to crack up his boat.
So Ryan has been on the boat for around 3 months, and even generously babysat the dogs while we went to the States for our Patreon charter. I have no doubt in my mind that Ryan will buy his own catamaran one day, so it was fun to watch him learn and progress as the months went by, absorbing information left, right and centre to help set himself up for success as a boat owner one day. I comfortably sat back and watched him go through the motions that were slowly becoming second nature to him. But what was particularly special about our time with Ryan was the friendship that we had all formed, despite being from incredibly different walks of life. We would stay up until the early hours of the morning just talking about all the topics you only really share with your closest friends. You really get to know someone when you live in a 45-foot box together. And we all even naturally had some light-hearted arguments between us, like the time Jamie threw Ryan under the bus for eating the last 2 pieces of yellowfin tuna. Anyone that says they lived on a boat for 3 months and didn't have a single disagreement with any of the crew is either a saint or lying. But it's how quickly you laugh these moments off that defines true friendship. And Ryan's one of those guys that we love and respect, who we know will be in our lives forever in one way or another.
Job done.
Ryan, last day.
Last day, many mixed, well, actually no mixed emotions. I am dreading leaving. I don't want to go. I've had a lifelong dream to live the way you guys live and to buy my own boat and to sail around the world. So coming on to Parlay was like an opportunity for me to live on a boat, learn to sail a little bit, understand if the lifestyle is for me. I've learned a little bit about sailing. The number one thing I've learned about sailing is I don't know jack squat about sailing. So if I'm going to buy my own boat, that's a problem that needs to be remedied. I always kind of thought that there was a chance I would end up maybe even solo sailing, but after spending time in this little group, that would be crazy. Like so much of this experience has been sharing it with each other and doing this thing together. I was fortunate enough to get to be on a small crew. It was just Britt, Jamie, Colin, and me for like 2 months, 2.5 months, maybe even 3 months, close to 3 months. And they're three of the most beautiful people I've ever met. Yeah, they're like among my closest friends now. We did so many rad things, but when I was thinking about talking to you today, sitting up on the front of the boat as we came into the last marina of my time here, I didn't think of any of those things. I didn't think about the learning sailing or being captain for a day. I just kept thinking about how I'm going to miss these guys. They're amazing people.
Oh, I literally just watched that for the first time writing these voiceovers. Right back at you, Ryan. You've been an absolute legend, mate. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you had a bit of fun with us this week. Subscribe if you're new here, and we'll see you next Sunday.